What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be talking about why dealerships are going to be failing. And it's not just the bad ones, it's going to be a lot of good ones. So I'm going to explain some of the things that you need to know about, and also if you purchased a car from a dealership that went under, you need to know how to protect yourself, how to get your title, make sure all your paperwork is correct. So this way you don't have a lot of these issues, because as this market is starting to change, we're seeing a lot of dealers go out of business, and we see a lot of consumers left with paper tags, no plates, no registration. Some people paid cash and can't receive their titles. So we're gonna go over all that and more. But before I do, if you could do me a huge favor and gently squeeze the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and also find more amazing people like yourselves that enjoy automotive content. Also, please consider subscribing. We do post, I'm trying to do it about 2 times a week. And once again, follow us on Instagram at Lucky Lopez. And let's get into the video. So as you guys know, the market is rapidly changing. We've seen prices go up, down, back up, and now they're on their way back down again. I've seen banks do the most insane lending I've ever seen before, and now I'm starting to see them pull back. I've seen a lot of banks cut off programs. I've even seen some banks leave certain states depending on how bad their defaults are. So this is how some of the things are evolving, and I wanted to make this video to talk about some of the dealerships that are going to be going out of business and the reasons why. And if you purchased a vehicle through these dealerships, how to protect yourself. Now, first, we're going to go into some of the dealerships that are going out of business. Now, we talked a lot on this channel about how a lot of dealers are over leveraged. They purchased a lot of cars way over book at the auction because they all had lines of credit, nobody had cash, and so now they have overflated prices. They overextended themselves on credit, and as these flooring companies, these lines of credit is what they're called, start asking for payments, asking for principal pay downs, things like this, it's going to hurt a lot of dealerships, and they're going to have to close down. But then it's not only the dealers that are over leveraged, the people that are kind of idiots that extended themselves. There's a lot of good dealers. The main reason why I'm making this video today is I got off the phone call probably maybe 3 or 4 people over the weekend, and they're all considering closing down as early as September and October. Now, 2 of these guys have been my friends for over 10 years. We started in the car business right around the same time. They opened up, branched off their own dealership, and both are having very similar problems. One's in Arizona, the other one is in LA. And as we were talking, these are good people. These are good dealers. They're so sick of the bullshit that's going down in our current market. They're like me. They put the real price up online, but they can't compete with all these other dealers because everybody's lying. They're putting what they bought the car at the auction, and when the customer gets there, they lie about the fees, add more money on there, and they just don't operate that way. So every time you go to Car Gurus, Auto Trader, stuff like that, they're always overpriced. They don't believe in gouging customers. They don't believe in burying customers. But now the margins are so thin to be an honest, legit dealer, it's not even worth the headache. So these guys have millions of dollars of lines of credit. They have really high mortgages. All their landlords have pretty much doubled, if not tripled, their rent. And they're seeing less and less sales every month, and they're getting less and less that piece of pie. Because you got to remember, as a dealer, when we sell a car, we say, oh, we made $3,000 on this car. Everyone thinks that we, as the dealership, made $3,000. No. We have first the auction fee, which is what we pay to get through to buy a car. Let's just say that's $500. Our flooring companies, let's say you're lucky and you sell it in the first month. There could be another $500. Let's say the customer has okay credit, but not the greatest. Bank's going to charge you $1,000. So there's $1,000 right off the top. And then you got to pay your sales guy. Then you got to pay your overhead. By the time you're done, most dealers are walking away with $500, $800. That's not a lot of money. And people think that dealers are rich and we're making all this money, but a lot of the honest ones and the good ones are not, unless they're doing their own financing. But these 2 gentlemen that I'm talking about are just regular dealers, small mom and pop operations. One's a family business. The other one is just a regular guy like me that has employees. And they're both struggling because they can't afford to make the profitability with the margins they're making now. They can't buy new cars. Every time they go to the auction, these stupid dealers with these lines of credit just hold up their hand and overbid on stuff. where a lot of my friends, they won't overpay because they have to keep track of their margins. Like I said, it's very, very thin. So on one hand, you have the dealers that are stupid, that are overpaying, and then once they realize they overpay, they raise the price up on on their car, but then they lie on Car Gurus, Auto Trader, and all this other stuff. And then you have the good dealers that are trying to sell cars at a decent price, make an honest profit, and do business the right way, and they're being forced out of the industry because they can't afford to compete. This is one of the problems with our business. When people ask me over and over again, should I get in the car business? Is now a good time? I never know the right political answer to say. Like, I can tell you right now, you can make a lot of money if you're smart. But what I'm seeing in the market now is absolute stupidity. I've never seen, every week I hear more and more stories of people literally clearly going $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 over MMR, which is auction price for a vehicle that they want to put on their lot. I'm hearing dealerships, not even big ones, small ones, medium-sized ones. Everybody's crying that they can't sell cars because the people don't have the money. The application numbers are down. They're not getting the same app numbers they used to. Oh, we had 300 people apply last month. This month we're having like 110. So we're going to start to see this trend work its way down. Like I said, the whole demand is slowing down a lot. People are not stupid. People are basically getting sick of dealers' crap and they're pushing back. But now, as these dealers start to lose their lines of credit, they're going to lose their funding, they're going to lose all kinds of stuff. And so little by little, all these dealerships are going out of business. Now, unfortunately, my friends are going to be retiring or closing their businesses down, which is really sad. They're good people. I hate to see them go, but I totally understand if it's not worth the money and the headache and the cost of liability. Oh, that's something else I'll touch base before we go into the next phase. But you guys don't understand this. As a dealer, when people ask me, well, I'm going to open up a dealership, Lucky, I got 20 grand. 20 grand isn't shit. You need at least $200,000-$300,000. At least you need to have a decent lines of credit, and you need to be able to sustain yourself for at least 6 months if for some reason you hit a downturn, because the car business is like this crazy roller coaster of ups and downs. And if you can't ride those waves, you're going to run out of money and that's it. You're going to be over. So if you're leveraging $1 million of credit, a couple $100,000 of your own money to clear, maybe after paying your bills, $3,000 to $8,000 a month, the risk to what you're putting yourself out for and what you're making is not worth the risk or the headache. So that's why a lot of people are walking away. The smart dealers. The other idiots that don't care that they have no cash and they're just living off of their credit, those are the idiots that are just going to keep kicking the ball down the road until basically somebody says, we're taking your credit away, and then they're going to be screwed. But let's go ahead and talk about if you're a consumer and you purchased a vehicle from a dealership that went out of business. Now, I've done a lot of videos like this in the past, but I wanted to give you an update one because people are going to start seeing how bad it is, and there's going to be a lot of dealerships that are screwing people on paperwork and titles. So one of the biggest things you have to do is stay on the dealership when it comes to funding your deal. Make sure you give them all the steps, which is like your proof of income, your residency. The more information you give them, the faster what they can do is fund your deal. Once they fund your deal, that deal automatically goes to the bank. The bank hopefully gets the title from the dealer, and then everything is well. And now the bank is the legal owner. You're also the registered, or they're the legal owner. You're the registered owner, and you can continue on. You can kind of kick the dealer out of it. Now, let's say the dealer does not forward the title on to the bank. You have two options. First one, you can make it the bank's problem. You can complain, hey, if you can't produce a title, I'm not going to pay off this car. It puts the bank in an awkward situation because technically it's not their fault, but they have the power to go to the DMV and pressure them for a title. You could also go yourself and actually file for paperwork to get a title because the dealership went out of business. And the second option is very similar. You have to go down and file an actual physical complaint. You have to go down to DMV and say, hey, look, I bought this car from a dealership. The bank hasn't gotten the title. They keep asking me for it. I need you to figure it out. Once you file this complaint, it's not lightning fast. It takes a lot of time. They're going to go through the due diligence, but at the end of the month, or maybe a month or so, they will actually print you out a new title. Now, for cash buyers, I always tell people, if you're going to pay cash, try to get a loan from a bank and then write cash once they receive the title, because I've seen people get burned, especially on like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 cars. Never, ever write a check for something that expensive. Tell your bank to buy it, and you'll write them a check when the title comes in. It's not going to cost you that much more, and it's a savings thing, because if for some reason they don't give you the title, then you're pretty much screwed. At least you have some sort of credit where you can go back on the bank, and the bank can try to help you get the title. But if you purchase a vehicle cash, that is also an option of yours. You can go down to the DMV and file a complaint on your local dealer. Say, hey, look, these guys went out of business. I never got my title. What's going on? And you have to have documentation of the sale. You can't say it happened. You have to have documentation of the sale. You have to have some proof of either a cashier's check, money order, a physical paper receipt from their dealership. You have to show them something that you paid money out of your account. Even if they wanted cash, go there and say, look, here's the copy of my bank statements. On the 25th of August, I pulled out $8,000, and that's what I paid for my car cash. I brought them to these guys. So they're going to ask for these things. Once you turn them into the dealership, same thing. Or excuse me, the DMV, they're not very fast. It's going to take them a little bit of time to process the paperwork. They're going to reach out to the dealer. They're going to say, hey, where's this paperwork? If the dealer answers, they're going to give them the opportunity to fix the problem. If they don't, they get fined. If the dealership is completely gone, then they reach out, there's no answer, then they start their process, and eventually they will get you a title. It does take a little bit of time. Now, as a regular consumer, if you purchase a vehicle through a dealership, you are protected by law. So what's been happening, like with, I can't remember what the other one is, like CSN and a few of these other exotic places, they were selling other people's cars without physically getting the title from them. And so people were trying to go out and repo their own cars. If that happens to you, don't go repo that car. It's technically illegal. If they process the paperwork through the dealership, then they have protection through the actual DMV that car is theirs. Even if you have the title and you paid cash for it, but this person paid less money and went through the dealership, unfortunately, it's theirs. There's nothing you can do. You could try to sue each other in court, but ultimately the person that purchased it through the dealership has protection, has rights. You as the consignee, unfortunately, does not. Now, you can try to work out a deal with the person, say, hey, look, why don't I give you $50K because that's what you put down, and give me my, $200,000 Lambo back. You can kind of do something like that. But if that's the case, that's why I tell people, when you consign cars, you can give them a copy of the title, but don't ever give them the real title. And then always check on your car. Make sure that, that they're just not selling it off to somebody. You don't know where it's at. And then all of a sudden somebody's been driving it for a month and started registered in another state, and you're pretty much SOL. So you have to protect yourself from that. You're going to see more and more of these stories come to light because all these over leveraged dealers are going to be falling from grace here very soon, especially when it comes to the exotic cars. I don't know any of these guys that are making it real money. They'll buy a car for damn near retail, and then they'll mark it up another 20 grand, hoping that somebody's stupid enough to pay for it. But, when you lose 5, 10, 15% on like a cheap economy car, it's no big deal. You got a $10,000 Corolla, you lose $300 in value, it's no big deal. But if you lose 20% on a $300,000 car, you're looking at, $18,000 to maybe $22,000. That's a big hit, and that's what these guys are relying on. And you start to see a lot of these exotic car dealers are going to start hurting. They're going to start lowering the prices if you haven't seen it already. And this is what's going to kind of affect the used car market. Now, you're only going to see this with small independent lots. You're not going to see this with franchise stores. Franchise stores have big banks, big reserves. They don't have the same requirements as small independent dealers. So, perfect example, we talk about what's called recourse, which is something you as a consumer need to know about. So if let's say you come into my dealership and I sell you a car and you have okay credit, but the bank doesn't trust you. They say, hey, you know what? We're going to charge you $1,000 to buy this deal, plus we're going to give you a 2-payment recourse on this particular deal. What this means is you and me are married to this car deal for 2 full payments, 2 months. Once you make your second month, I'm off the hook. The deal is between you and the bank, and I'm out. Now, if the consumer decides not to pay, they say, you know what? I don't want to pay. I don't want to work. I gave my $5,000 down on the car. I'm just going to drive it and forget it. And if they find it, they find it, which does happen a lot, unfortunately. So if they don't pay their first 2 payments, I get a call from the bank as a dealer. Hey, the customer took off with the car. They're not making their payments. I have to write a check directly to the bank and pay them off. And now I got to chase the consumer to go get my car back and my money back. Is it fair? Hell no. But that's what banks do to offset their risk, to mitigate their risk. Do big franchise stores do that? Hell no. They keep shoveling dog shit loans down their throats, and as deficiencies and defaults rake up, they push it on to the independents because they know that franchise stores don't want to sign any type of recourse deals. They want to just sell the car, get funded within 24 hours, and gone. Where us as an independent, they want pay stubs, proof of income, maybe a copy of your lease, 2 IDs, to this. Like, they grind the shit out of you, getting as much information as possible. They drag the process on for a week, sometimes 2 weeks, to verify your income. They'll call your references. They'll verify your phone number. They'll do whatever it takes to make them feel comfortable. And then as an independent dealer, we finally get paid. So this is some of the stuff that you're going to be seeing unfolding, as well as dealers and consumers. So make sure you protect yourself out there. If you bought a car from a dealer, make sure you stay on them. If they need paperwork, get it to them. Dealers, if you need paperwork from your consumers, it's just as bad. People are losing their jobs, traveling all over the U.S. A lot of people are not coming back to the original towns. They may be using your car to get out of town. Keep on track of your customers. Customers, keep on track of your dealers. Once you get your DRS or your registration or your pink slip to take that into DMV, make sure you do that. Also, check up with your actual bank. Say, hey, I just wanted to touch base, see if you guys got the title yet. Sometimes it takes a month, 2 months, that's okay. But if it's been, 6 months and they still haven't received the title, you need to worry, because if you were to trade this car in and you wanted to go buy another car because maybe you had a boost in income or you wanted to treat yourself to something nicer, they could come back and unwind that deal because you can't prove ownership of that other vehicle. Or the bank may not want to give you another loan until they get a title secured, until they feel more safe. So this could affect you in many different ways. So a lot of the banks, they'll check on their own, but you should do your own due diligence and check up on that. And once again, if you're paying cash, I know cash is king. There's a lot of people out there with money getting good deals right now. Try to do a thing where if they give you the title, just make sure they process it and cover your bases. And dealers have what's called a bond. You got to find out what state you're in. Here in Nevada, it's $100,000. So if you screw me or I screw a customer for a $50,000 truck, they can go to the DMV, file a complaint, get my bond number, and then they can file a complaint against my bond, and then the bond will have to pay them out. Now, the dealer is going to be forced, because if they don't pay out the customer and the customer has, can show proof that he's getting defrauded, the bond will pay out the consumer, and that's what puts the dealers out of business. So if they they don't have the money or there's nothing they can do, they will basically pay out the customer, and then they will shut down the bond. They'll call the DMV, say that he's not insured or not bonded. That dealer's out of business. So, unfortunately, it's going to be happening. There's going to be a lot of people filing complaints. So just make sure you follow the law. The DMV, a lot of these DMV guys don't know a lot of it, so you have to go there multiple times and file reports. Don't be afraid to file another one if you've already done it, and you have to check up on there. And then do not call. You're going to have to physically go in there. Physically go there, file a complaint, and just keep following up with them to see what's going on in your process. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or concerns, please put in the comment section below. I try to answer every single one. And like I said, in all my videos, I'm going to try to do a 5 to 10 questions at the end. So I got a few questions today that I'm going to answer. And one of the first ones is, now a good time, once again, to get into the car business? Depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a dealer, my advice, don't do it. Wait, be patient. Things are changing so rapidly, so quickly, you don't want to get yourself involved. Is now a good time to get into a lease instead of a purchase? I would say no on lease and no on purchase, because if they make your residual at what they think the current market value is going to be in 2 years, if they think the trend is still going to go up, you may owe a lot more on your car than what it's worth. And when the market basically tanks, you may be stuck in that car, 1, 2, 3, 4 years later, whatever your lease term is. So I would recommend just waiting, being patient. I tell a lot of people over and over again, you need to just wait, be patient. Things are changing. If you go on Car Gurus, just look at days on market. You'll see that number every day. It's ticking higher and higher and higher. And before you maybe saw one truck you wanted, now you're going to see multiple trucks. This one actually is a really good one. This one, when do you see trucks going down? Trucks have gone down 15% in the last month and a half. Just because we see that the auction won't trickle out for the next 60 to 90 days to the retail market, but they are going down. I was shocked. I've never seen trucks drop that quickly, but a lot of people they got so sick of overpaying for them, and I think that people realize they're way over in their vehicles, and dealers can't sell them for the same crazy markup. Plus, with gas prices high, that's also helping it, so they're bringing those things down. Next one. How successful is it to sue a dealership if you've done a bad deal? Okay, this is one of my favorite questions. This one I'll put my last one because this one will be pretty tricky. Excuse me. When a dealer makes you sign paperwork, the first thing you need to do is go through it and be very thorough. Everybody always says they got screwed by the dealer, but if you don't read your paperwork, then technically you screwed yourself. If you signed an as-is form and you drive the car 3 blocks away and it breaks in half, unfortunately, it's as is. No matter how much you scream, how much you cry, how much you say it's the lemon law, it's all bullshit. You signed it as a grown adult. You signed an as-is form. The dealer is 100% legally off the not liable at all. You can go to court. You can waste a lot of money, and the judge will probably still side with the dealer. Happened to me a bunch of times. I've had people go out and buy race cars from me and go race them and blow up the motors and then come back a month later and try to sue me saying I sold them a bad car. And all I keep saying is the same thing. You turn down the warranty and you sign the as-is form. Here's my inspection. I serviced it. Tell me what I did to do something wrong. So the only thing they can do is when you have an issue with a dealer, go to the DMV first. Because if you go to the DMV and let's say they didn't make you sign a Carfax, they didn't make you sign an inspection sheet, the odometer readings, something like that. A lot of dealers are sloppy. If they miss any type of paperwork, now you have grounds to say that it's a fraudulent deal and you could unwind that deal, which means the dealer has to give you all your money back, take the car, and then more than likely they're going to get fined by the DMV. So before you go out and start hiring attorneys and losing your mind and trying to sue people, it's better off to just stop, take your paperwork, go through it yourself, and then if you don't see anything, take it into the DMV and file a complaint. Once you file a complaint, the DMV has more power than anybody. And if they say there's nothing wrong with their papers, there's nothing they can do, then if you want to pursue a legal matter, you can do that. But unless there's missing paperwork, you're pretty much screwed. And that's what we're seeing right now. We see a lot of people crying wolf. I didn't know I was signing a 20% interest loan. I didn't know I was going to pay this much. And it's always the same thing. You're an adult. It's your job to read the paperwork. If the dealer says sign here, sign here, sign here, all that prints right out in front of you. We're not hiding anything. You got to look at it. Double check the paperwork, double check the Carfax. Make sure that the odometer reading is the same as what's on the vehicle. Make sure it's a clean title. It's not a rebuild title, a salvage title, unless you actually are purchasing a salvage title and that's what you want. Check these things out. If there's a warranty, ask them if there is. If there's no warranty, ask them how much is for another one. Get as much disclosure as possible. Also, if you're promised window tint, if they're going to fix a dent, there's a little piece of paper called "we owe." Everything is always in writing when it comes to a dealer. If he says, no problem, I'll take care of you folks, we'll see you next week, say, hell no. Put it on the contract. I want on the "we owe," we need you to put whatever you owe us. So if he says, oh, I'm going to put new tires on it, great. Go to the "we owe," put 4 new tires. Oh, you're going to fix that dent? Okay, put it on the "we owe." We're going to fix that dent. As long as you have that on paper and you go to the DMV, that's part of your contract. To fulfill your contract, they have to do this. And if they don't, it nullifies it. So you go to DMV, hey, look, here's the "we owe." They promised me 4 new tires. These guys are jerking me around. The DMV is going to be like, okay, fix these guys' tires. They're going to get scared. They're going to say yes. And then now the DMV is going to whack them with like a $500 to maybe $3,000 fine. And now they basically could have just swapped their tires, but instead they got screwed over and they got fined. And so you get new tires, dealer gets fined, and hopefully doesn't do this anymore. But anytime you do that, make sure you get it in writing. If you have e-contracts, make sure they're very thorough. Go through them. Read everything you possibly can. So anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, once again, put them in the comment section below. If your opinion is different from mine, that is okay. We could still be friends. It's all about sharing information and being transparent. I want to thank you guys, and we'll see you next video.